my science fiction novel titled Empty Vessels. And I have made some small edits to what's on the screen, so I apologize for that. Anyways. Ray took Claire's hand and interlaced her dainty digits with his own bloated fingers. He could not draw her eyes from the thick iron gate before them. He knew this would be a harrowing journey for her, but he was confident. He had blood on his side. A small group of sullen primes stood nearby, feigning interest. As the lanterns flicked on, Ray wiped a healthy peak of sleep from his eyes, the crust of dreams. He wished they'd leave him to it. Ray may have been born an overweight, plain specimen, but this prime would be perfect. A son fit to be an heir, to lead the people. A dream. Ray yawned. It felt like he had not slept a wink, and the dark circles under Claire's eyes meant she had fared little better. Her exhaustion, their exhaustion, filled Ray with a giddy pleasure, knowing the result of their good work as husband and wife. His eyes watered, but he would not blink, fearing she would disappear. Such a fragile dream she now held for them inside of her, even with the strength of his blood. Ray squeezed her hand. She shifted her weight, shooed him away in favor of her stomach. Don't worry, Ree, he cooed, giving a breathless wind to the nickname he had given her at their joining. He called her Ree because she would always return to him. This has been the purpose of the primes for 500 years, and we have yet to fail. He winked at her, tilted his head. Perfection awaits us. He placed his hand over hers, and they both cradled her stomach. Perfection, he whispered into her ear. Claire's lip curled up into a polite smile, but her eyes remained on the locked gate. A stray black curl hung on her sweaty forehead. Ray brushed it back into place, rubbing her back as he heard her take quick, shallow breaths. An older man brushed past them in such a huff, Ray could make out nothing more than a flash of fair skin that glowed with its own surreal light. The skin of a prime. Ray watched him step up to the gate. Inside stood two dark figures who came to life and pulled it open with a mighty effort. Ray and Claire stood before the open gateway for a long moment, waiting. When they did not follow, the older man re-emerged and reached out a hand gloved in doctor's blue. He beckoned them forward. It's going to be fine, Ray whispered into the back of her ear. Someone behind him groaned, and he noticed a crowd formed, full of more hopeful fathers and mothers. It's going to be fine, he repeated, feeling his own heart race. To the primes, someone shouted, and Ray felt the blood within his body drive him forward. To the primes! He placed his hand on Claire's lower back and pushed. To the primes! And as it became a chant, he shoved Claire past the threshold. Just inside the gate loomed two black masks, like statues, standing watch, as always. Unmoved by the echo of the crowd shouting his family's name, Ray felt Claire shiver at his side. It's just so, she started, her voice hoarse. Ray followed her eyes to the wall that stood at the end of the hallway before them. A monstrous rack filled with glass tubes arranged by color and brightness stood beneath the flashing white light. A picture hung on the wall nearby. Grainy and colorless, it portrayed a baby in a womb, but the baby lacked a face. Sterile, she finished. A sour smell bit Ray's nostrils. He watched Claire lift her shirt to her nose, but not in time. She hunched her shoulders and heaved. Ray choked down his own unbecoming sick as he reached out and placed both palms on her lower back. He worked them up her spine lovingly, trying to straighten her out and push her forward. Choking, they stepped into a small room with a desk that took up about half the space. The doctor's rubber-soled shoes made a childish squeak as he moved across the shiny floor. Ray felt a sudden cold run through his body, wondering what made it look so slick and why the floor had drains. The doctor took a practice seat at the far side of the desk in front of alien contraptions that buzzed and whirred. Their lights played strange shadows across the doctor's smooth face, morphing his expression with each passing sequence. He beckoned them to sit across from him in two spotless leather chairs as his face changed from warm to cold. First-timers, the doctor said. Ray could not tell if the words were meant to comfort. Hand in hand, they took a careful step across the shiny floor. One of the contraptions let loose a long shrill. Ray felt his heart in his throat as he heard Claire's breath quicken and felt her hand grow slick with worry. She doubled over and refused to move, obviously shaken. Ray looked to the doctor for guidance. Ah, yes, that sound usually does it. His smile was bright and painted red or green with each passing flash of light. She's in labor. Boys! He pounded the desk and the black mask approached from behind. They grabbed Claire and pulled her away from Ray, who felt her warmth slowly evaporate from his palm. Wait, Ray mumbled, holding his cold hands out as if begging. He dropped them to his sides at the sound of his own pathetic voice. The black mask dropped Claire into a spotless leather chair in front of the desk, and everyone in the room turned toward Ray expectantly. "Come have a seat," the doctor said. His eyes and mouth dripped the color of the machine. As Ray shuffled forth, Claire's seat snapped flat with a crack. She lied on her back as the doctor produced a thick, fuzzy hose from beneath the desk. He attached it to a bulbous machine with a black and white screen on top. With a flick of a switch, the contraption rumbled to life. Ray could only stare at the screen as it popped with gray fuzz that scurried as if it were alive, like a million points of light, each finding their place on a vast black canvas. They formed a shape, broke apart in a gray cloud like some forgotten dream, and started to form again. Ray's excitement grew as it started to become a solid image. His baby. But the doctor cleared his throat loudly, and the points of light fell again into chaos. "Would you mind?" the doctor asked, clearing his throat a little more emphatically. He nodded towards Claire. Ray blinked, trying to understand. What? Ray felt dizzy and small, his own voice reaching his ears as if through a long, hollow tube. The doctor brought his hand to his forehead in disbelief. He motioned towards Claire's pants with a sweeping gesture. Ray finally understood. He wobbled over to Claire and grasped the top of her pants, tried to kiss her on the mouth as she wriggled uncomfortably. Her sweaty forehead, matted black with curls, bobbed and weaved as Ray tugged and struggled. Finally, her pants were around her ankles, her private parts exposed. Ray looked down and saw Claire as he'd seen her many times before. He felt himself start to get excited, but knew others were in the room as he studied the fury in the shape of her mouth, felt the warm, wordless breath that came from inside of her. He did not know what to do next. A light tap on his shoulder saved him. He spun to see the doctor standing there, both hands around the fuzzy hose. The doctor brushed Ray aside and attached one end, almost lovingly, to Claire's exposed parts, turning her glare to a pale fear. Ray wanted to stop him, to punch him for getting so close to her in that way, but the doctor retreated behind his desk and flipped a switch on the machine. It banged loudly as Ray grabbed Claire's hand in time to feel her heart skip a beat. A series of slurps and gulps sounded from the hose beneath her waist, and Claire wiggled uncomfortably with each and every one. And just as Ray was about to say something, anything, the machine's wet slurps became a dry suck. Claire relaxed, melting into the curve of the chair with a thick and deep sigh of relief. A lump formed where the hose met Claire, and it grew and grew until it was the size of a watermelon. It moved at the pace of the machine's dry suck along the length of the hose until it was up inside the machine. "There, that wasn't so bad, was it?" the doctor asked, rolling his eyes at the couple. "A mild discomfort, really. It's always easier after the first." "I see," Ray stuttered. He watched the black mask come over and detach the hose with a violent twist. Fluid spewed out onto the floor, and Ray watched it drain away in a matrix of big swirls. Everything was starting to make sense. He felt his confidence returning as Claire pulled her pants back up, her face a crimson mixture of shame and relief. "The machine does all the work," the doctor said, looking down at the couple smartly. Ray crinkled his nose but said nothing, his attention now on the monitor's frantic points of light, which snapped in place to form a grainy but familiar image. A dream. 10 fingers, 10 toes of a dream. Ray felt the tiny fingers move, the toes curl, his own fingers, his own toes. The same plump nose breathing air into the same robust stomach, the forehead narrower like Claire's, the neck, her neck, long and inviting. The image rippled with the rhythm of a new heartbeat. The baby, Ray's baby, had a thumb to its mouth, its other hand grabbing its ear. Ray felt each ripple of the screen as a solid thump, thump, thump in his hand. He looked down and realized he still held Claire. He placed his other hand to his chest and found that the beat of his heart also matched the ripples of the screen. All of them in sync. He closed his eyes and thanked his father, thanked the primes, the prime way, everything that had made this moment possible. "Now hang on there," came an authoritative voice. The doctor rapped the desk with his knuckles, causing the screen to jump and blur. Ray nearly swallowed his tongue as he glared at the older man. This little guy has a ways to go still. "Yes, of course," Ray said, straightening his body so he stood taller than anyone in the room aside from the black masks. He flashed Claire a confident smile. "Each newborn is a vessel for our future. A life free of disease, free of worry or frustration. A step forward." He looked up at the monitor with a dutiful pride. "Disease, both psychological and physical, must not be present in our little vessels. It cannot be allowed." "Color me impressed," said the doctor flatly as he stuck his hand into the chamber containing Ray's son. He smacked the side of the vise with his free hand, sending shivers across the black and white image and through Ray's spine. This is an exact replica of Our Lady's uterus here, the doctor's hand appeared on the screen, a plastic and repulsive predator. The baby kicked at it as it neared, but the five-fingered intruder eventually nabbed the child. Ray held his breath.